Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Modern Customer Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Morgan. Today, my guest is Noha Abdalla. She is the Chief Marketing Officer for Choice Hotels International. Choice Hotels International is a huge company you probably never heard of, but you've definitely stayed at their hotels. The hotel company was founded in 1939. They have 7,100 locations and 1,700 employees. Today, we are talking about the brand. We're talking about the intersection of the CMO office and customer experience. We're talking about their new marketing partnership with Zooey Deschanel. And more importantly, we're talking about the future of travel and this bleisure trend, business and leisure, that we just can't get enough of as we think more about the experience economy and how it is changing the landscape of our businesses and our lives. Please enjoy Noha Abdalla. Noha, welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. Where are you calling in from today?
Oh, the Washington, D.C. area.
Oh, goody. I love DC. So much fun over on the East Coast. And it's probably warming up, getting some summer weather over there. Is it pretty warm today?
It is. It's beautiful out. We've got the birds are chirping. The sun is out. It's wonderful.
Yeah, birds are chirping over here too, outside of LA in the valley. You and I were just chatting that the birds are so loud, they're on my mic. They sound like they're literally like in my hair, these birds next to my my recording studio. But welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. Today we're talking about marketing strategy and customer experience in the intersection of those two things. For my audience that don't know you, can you just give us the highlight reel of your career and how you came into this role as CMO of Choice Hotels?
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me today. It's great to be with you. So I joined Choice Hotels about 10 months ago as the Chief Marketing Officer. Prior to here, I worked at a company called My Eye Doctor, and prior to that, I spent 3 years at Hilton Hotels. I've also done stints at Capital One and Discovery Communications. They own TV channels like Animal Planet and Discovery.
You know, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I love Capital One because there's so many cool stories coming out of the contact center over at Capital One about customer experience, because Capital One is one of these famous customer-centric brands where they allow frontline employees to actually do things for customers, like send them on vacation and just do things outside the norm that's not traditional for contact centers. When you were there, did you touch the customer teams very often, or were you doing any kind of customer strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was at Capital One, part of my role when I was there was to stand up the social media center of excellence across the company. And a lot of what we did was really kind of bring to life the brand in the social media channels. And that included kind of connecting with our consumers and making sure that we could surprise and delight them, even if they were having kind of a rough moment as they were trying to use one of our products or kind of within the experiences. So yes, that's an area that's near and dear to my heart, and a very close relationship that I built with the customer service team.
So, do you remember when your agent, I think her name was Tanya and Christina, Christina was the customer. Do you remember when they were on the Ellen show for the crazy story of Tanya sending Christina on vacation when she got dumped by her fiance?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
Okay.
do.
You're probably wondering, why does she know their actual names? Who is this person? Yes, I'm a super customer experience geek. So I've actually told that story many times in speeches. So thank you for that. Let's talk about Choice Hotels, very big company, old company. Tell us about Choice Hotels and how our listeners would recognize the different brands within the umbrella name.
Yeah, so many people don't even realize how many brands they know and love belong to Choice Hotels. So Choice Hotels has over 22 brands, and we've got over 7,000 hotels across the world, but mostly in the US. And we cover brands including Comfort Inn and Quality Inn, Clarion. We just bought a company called Radisson, and so we have Radisson Blue and Radisson Hotels. So it's really a broad range. We also have extended stay hotels. So We've got Woodspring and Suburban Studios and a new brand called Everhome.
Well, I love that. I've definitely stayed at extended stay before, and I think there's a Cambria. Is Cambria in your group too?
It is.
Yes, there is a beautiful Cambria hotel. It just recently popped up in Calabasas, which is like there's maybe one hotel now in our city. Have you been to that one?
I've driven by that one. I have not stayed there, but recently I was in the LA area and stayed at the Cambria at the LAX airport.
Okay, yes. Well, cool. Well, maybe you drove by my house. But, well, I'm so interested in hotels and travel, not just because for my job I travel quite a bit, but I think that we're at this interesting inflection point with travel. Let's kick off by actually talking about some of the trends you're seeing with your customers. Is travel picking up? What are customers looking for in their hotel experience and their travel experience in America? Let's start there and then we'll get into more of the strategy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So we here at Choice like to talk about some trends that we're seeing in the marketplace. They fall under the category of 5 Rs. And I can take you through a few of them that are really, I think, influencing the travel patterns of our guests. So one of them is rising wages. So in the last year, we know that the average American's income has gone up by over 8%. And the wages of those on Social Security has also gone up by over 8%. And so that's more money that they have in their pockets to do what they've been wanting to do for a long time and weren't able to do during COVID. And so we do see kind of a lot of people with that extra disposable income using it to prioritize experiences over things. And that's where we see a real good opportunity for our guests to come to our hotels. Another one of the 5 Rs is retirement. So as the population continues to age and enter into retirement age, we have over 3 million adults in the US who are entering into the retirement age, many of whom are deciding to retire. They also have a good amount of disposable income and have prioritized getting on the road. And many of them are doing so via road trips. And we have hotels all across the country. And in fact, over 4,000 of them are just within a mile of a major highway. And so that provides a good opportunity for the retirees who are out there traveling as well.
And what were the other R's?
So I thought you would ask. So we've got remote work, we've got rising wages. Oh, remote work would be another one. So as you all know, since COVID, many companies have shifted to a model where they are allowing their employees to work remotely. And so what we're seeing is that many people are kind of doing just that. They are traveling for pleasure and kind of staying that extra Sunday night through Monday and working remotely on Monday, or starting their weekend early and working remotely on Friday, so checking in on Thursday. And we're seeing both our Sunday night and our Thursday night bookings go up as people are taking their work on the road and doing what we call kind of bleisure as they're mixing both work and pleasure together. Another one of the R's is reshoring of American manufacturing. So because of many of the bills that have passed that are increasing the investment in rebuilding many of the factories and construction that's happening in the US, many of those workers who are traveling on behalf of those projects are staying at our hotels. So that's another thing that's really helping our business right now.
That is so interesting, that last one especially. I really haven't heard that. Could you just talk more about, is it like rebuilding of the roads and the bridges, or what is that?
That's right. It's an investment in the infrastructure in the U.S. as well as many companies deciding to bring back a lot of the manufacturing that had been happening overseas to the U.S. So they could be building new manufacturing plants or warehouses. So a lot of that work is happening in the U.S. and that requires engineers and construction workers, et cetera.
That's fascinating. Okay, so let's step back, and I know our audience really want to hear about some of the core principles and basics of your marketing program, do you have a loyalty program? Like for audience who might not be familiar at all, never stayed at a hotel, is there a loyalty program across the brands, or how do you approach customer strategy?
Yeah, we do. We have a loyalty program. It's called Choice Privileges. And Choice Privileges really encourages guests to come to choicehotels.com whenever they're looking for a hotel stay, because we have a wide range. No matter what your price point is, no matter what your travel occasion is, we have a hotel brand in the right location for you. And so the benefit of coming to choicehotels.com is you'll get that broad array, but you'll also get the opportunity to book a hotel at a price that is the lowest price. We guarantee that we've got the best price across the internet for that hotel. And so with that best price guarantee, as well as that huge range, you'll also be able to book a hotel that you'll get points for. And when you earn points, you'll be able to redeem those points on future stays, but also on maybe lower spend things like gift cards. We have a really neat part of our loyalty program that not many people know about, which allows you to get a $5 gift card, for example, to your favorite coffee shop, or to a favorite online retailer. So every time you stay, you'll get kind of that perk, and you get to pick which one you want.
All right, so on the show, one of the big themes of the show that my audience really is interested in is, for a CMO like yourself, how close do you sit to all of the stuff happening on the other end of the transaction? The customer feedback and the contact center and, all that. So how far are you from that? And do you touch that piece of the business? How frequently, if you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a very close relationship with our customer care team. On the one hand, I've got channels that report up through me, like the social media channel that includes kind of direct feedback from the consumer and our guests. And oftentimes they're talking to us while they're on their trip, right? So it's more real-time feedback, as well as working very closely with the teams who bring in the analytics from our post-stay survey. So we take that feedback that we get from our guests who stay at our hotels very seriously, not just to kind of address and make sure that we respond to the feedback that they're giving about their particular stay, but we're also looking at trends and themes for ways that we can continue to learn from that feedback and improve the overall guest experience.
Interesting. Okay. And would you say that your culture is customer centric? Would you describe it that way?
I would say that we have multiple customers, right? And so I think Choice Hotels is known for the putting the franchisee customer first, right?
Oh,
So
interesting. Okay.
from a B2B perspective, we have a long heritage of building these great relationships with franchisees who are really small business owners who started their business with Choice Hotels and have been able to grow their business and pass it on to generations. And so that is one customer group that we are very proud to serve and that we do put at the heart of a lot of our decisions. We're also customer focused as you think about the guest. We know our guest really well, and we understand what they prioritize and what they're looking for. And even though we have hotels at a variety of price points, there are some things that are consistent about the guests who stay with Choice Hotels. And I will tell you that those guests tell us that they like to stay with us because they know that when they stay with us, it's a good value for their money. They know what to expect. These are brands that are tried and true. They're consistent where no matter where they are in the country, and they know what they're going to get, and they're only going to pay for what they get, right? They're not going to pay for extra things that they don't value. And so we pride ourselves on kind of really wanting to be close to the customer needs and making sure that we've got experiences that line up to those needs.
One of the things that we talk about a lot on this show is how we look through all that customer data when they stay at Choice Hotels property. What happens with that data? How is it served up to you? How do you see it? What are you looking for? What are the technologies? Can you share that journey with us on the feedback side?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a variety of different channels where we're getting the feedback. So they could be public channels like in Google reviews, they could be more private channels like in our post stay survey. They could come through the phone channel, they could come through the social media channel. And so, really, our goal is to put all that data together and look at it to see if there are trends, to see if there are insights and takeaways and things that we're hearing from our guests, whether they be at the property level. So we could take all of those inputs and say, for this property, here's what we're hearing. Or we could say for this type of customer, the business traveler or the leisure traveler or the millennial traveler, these are the insights that we're getting about what they like, moments of delight, and moments where we could do better. And so really, there is a lot of data and analytics that sits behind all of this. But the goal really is to look at it various cuts, as I just described, to make sure that we are continuing to learn and improve the experience.
Would you be willing to share with us like the technology, like what does the data look like? What technology are you using that other CMOs could learn from?
So that's it. Really varies, right? We have third party partners who we work with. They're using their tools to look at that data, but we're also putting it into our own data warehouse and being able to add tools on top of that that allows us to read across that. So not to get in too far into the details, but we're using a number of third party as well as proprietary tools.
Okay, so let's go back and talk about something you said. Let's talk about the trends and how much the trends dictate your marketing strategy. Like what's happening now that has moved you toward a new direction. I know we're going to talk a little bit about your new, is she your spokesperson? But I mean, what you would call her. But let's just talk about taking, again, the trends, the R's that you mentioned, and then turning that into movement. How does that work?
Yeah, again, so we pride ourselves on really reading these trends early on and having those trends help inform our strategy. So, a good example of this is the reshoring of American manufacturing. We saw that trend a few years ago, and really, as a result of that, leaned into our extended stay strategy. So, we have now multiple brands in the extended stay space, and that is one of our fastest growing areas because we know that in America there aren't enough kind of short-term housing solutions for people in the places where they need to be. And so, again, this is something that we've been watching and monitoring over time and saw a need to continue to invest and grow this offering for guests because we knew it was a need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And did you even go to the extent of like acquiring new properties in to gear up for this?
Yes, we did. And so in some cases, we had brands that we continued to kind of evolve and develop. In other cases, we went out and bought a new brand. So Value Place is the brand that we bought and rebranded into Woodspring. And then we also started a new brand, Everhome.
So Noha, two of the ways I define customer experience when I talk about it is customer experience very much is what you're talking about. It's the channels, it's the touch points, it's the feedback, it's the data. But on the other side of it, customer experience is also just people want to feel something. They want to experience life. You talked a little bit about the experience economy or alluded to it. Are you seeing the same kind of dichotomy like customer experience is literally customers out there driving across America. At the same time, to you, customer experience as a practitioner could be very like brass tacks, data programs and feedback loops.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's all of the above, right? It's everything that you described. I think going back to one of the things I spoke about earlier, we are seeing that consumers really are valuing experiences over things. And so, what role does a hotel play as they're out there trying to experience the world and trying to experience new things? And so, for example, in what you were talking about for a road trip, or if you want to visit national parks, for example, with your family, you're going to look for a hotel that's in the right location, that has the amenities that you want, free breakfast, a pool for the kids, right? A place to congregate in the evening around a fire pit, etc. And you're going to be looking for those things. And so while our hotel may not be the experience that you are traveling for, you aren't traveling to that hotel for that specific hotel, you're traveling to a national park. Our hotel has that proximity that you want and has experiences built in that are a complement to the other experiences that you're having on that trip. And so we really try to make sure that we highlight all those amenities that we have and how our hotel can play that assist, if you will, as you're going about your travels and the experiences that you want to have. But then there's also kind of the booking experience, right? And so we know that, and this is a little bit of the insight that drove our campaign, but we know that on average, consumers are looking at over 15 websites before they make a decision about where to book a hotel. That's a lot, and that sometimes can be quite overwhelming. And so that insight drove us to develop this campaign with Zooey Deschanel, where we're driving everybody to choicehotels.com. She gives you the confidence to know that if you come to choicehotels.com, you're going to find the right hotel for the things that you're looking for and the location that you want. And you should feel confident that if you book with us, you'll have a great experience. You'll get the best price guaranteed. And so that's really the insight that drove the campaign and working with Zooey, is that she gives people that confidence. She exudes a level of approachability and kind of that, confidant who's going to tell you, book there. It's going to be a good decision.
All right, so I just have to ask, was that because you, Noha, like her and saw her shows and followed her, or like how did that partnership come about?
No, absolutely. That is not, not the only reason why we went with her. So we did a lot of consumer research, and obviously we are wanting to appeal to a variety of types of consumers who have a variety of travel needs. And there were a number of celebrities that we considered partnering with. And she happened to be one who tested really well with our target guests we were trying to reach.
Oh, so you tested her with your guest.
We did.
Okay. I mean, to be honest, this is a whole world I don't really know about. So I just find it so interesting how you choose an influencer and it's like she represents your brand and you want people to feel something when they see her. And I was even just looking at, I think your website where even the way you have her dressed and her makeup, like it kind of reminds me of a little bit 1950s, 1960s. And then I thought, well, maybe that is like this zeitgeist of driving across America. Let's imagine younger people kind of seeing, out in the open road. Is that am I getting the vibe or is this off?
So the idea behind her character is that she is the fairy hotel mother, and so this idea of a fairy can take on kind of a variety of forms. And what was really special about the campaign that we did is that we worked closely with her to create a character that worked with both our brand and what we were trying to achieve and who we were trying to reach, but also worked with her brand. And so I do think that there is this amount of kind of nostalgia that comes with kind of being back into travel, back on the road, and that matches with her style and how people think of her as well.
Here's an interesting spin on what you've done here. How does the customer service side interact with your fairy? Is there any movement from her on that side, or is it more just on the acquisition side?
That's a good question. We have not yet incorporated her into our customer service side. I think we've got hold music and things like that, but we don't necessarily have her playing any role in the customer service delivery. But that's a good idea.
You know what? I think we just invented something. It's a spokesperson for the customer service piece. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
fun.
yeah, let's talk about the future of Choice Hotels and of your industry. What are some of the trends on the horizon that you're preparing for? Is it more competition or a changing business strategy from like the Airbnbs of the world and that type of, I'm seeing this whole, you mentioned leisure travel. And now people want to work and have fun and, stay different places. Is that something you're looking into? Let's talk about the horizon and what you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trends that I discussed are ones that have been around for a little bit, but also ones that are continuing to kind of evolve and change over time. This bleisure one's a good example. I think we're past the point of, internet needing to be standard, Wi-Fi at every hotel, et cetera. But also, how do we have spaces that guests can use to work, but then also be able to relax and enjoy themselves? And so you'll see in a number of our hotels that we will have rooftop bars, or we will have areas with fire pits outside, fireplaces in the lobby, places where you can like a small meeting room that you can reserve, so that you don't have to kind of be stuck in your room. But also within your room, how do we separate out the spaces so that there's a couch where you can hang out and relax, different from the desk where you work. And then food options, and making sure that whether you're at an extended stay property or you're at one of our mid-scale or upscale properties, that there's a way for us to kind of bring in the local flair of food, if it's not already there at the hotel. And so we are looking at all of that at the various price points in various locations, and just making sure that we're meeting guest needs.
It's funny, Noha, those little things matter. Like, especially when you're traveling with a spouse. Like, I know we stayed recently at a hotel where there ended up being like a little nook with a desk and a couch and a table. And then there was a separate place for sleeping with a door. So, like, even that just felt like such a luxury, like when you're with your spouse, and the room. Generally, when you travel, the hotel rooms are small. They're maybe 400 square feet to 700 or 800 if you're really lucky. So I think these little things just matter so much, even a desk or couch.
Absolutely. We've got, for example, the Country Inn and Suites brand, which we often have kind of our empty nesters traveling to. And they've told us in research that they really like staying at a Country Inn and Suites because it reminds them of home. And they like that there are two chairs in the room where they can sit and have a cup of coffee together in the morning. And that's something that, again, it's a small touch, but something that makes them want to come back to a Country Inn and Suites no matter where they are.
It's amazing. These little things, when you travel, you don't realize you need them, but they do really impact your experience. Even just having two chairs to sit in, one with your spouse. This has been really interesting, hearing about the trends and, even this manufacturing thing. You have blown my mind that I really need to look into this, of bringing jobs back, and all the ripple effects that's going to have, all the industries that are going to grow because America is bringing jobs back here. And I think that's really exciting. And obviously Zooey Deschanel, she's really interesting. I actually listened to a podcast with her on the Armchair Expert recently, and she's very smart, very interesting person. Everybody should check out that podcast where she's talking more about like who she is. Noha, let's talk about you. Let's get to know you a little bit better on a personal level. Are you ready to take some rapid fire questions?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Noha, what does your morning routine look like?
Morning routine. So typically, get up early before the kids and everybody else in the house, and catch up on kind of the news, maybe do a little bit of email, drink that cup of coffee. If I can get in a workout, I will. And then it's, go, 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 get everybody up and get everybody out of the house. So that's the morning routine.
Do you have a unique leadership hack that helped get you to where you are?
I think not being afraid of challenges. So when opportunities arise internally at the company that I'm at, or externally, not being afraid to take on something that you've never done before.
What do you do to relax at the end of a hectic day?
Relax. I would say being outdoors. I love to go for runs, go for walks, be with the kids, watching their sports. That's my relaxation.
All right. Do you have a favorite leadership book or resource?
Good question. I have read a number of autobiographies of famous women. I prefer to kind of go down the path of, nonfiction than to kind of go down the path of like leadership books. And so I've learned a lot from people like Madeleine Albright and Michelle Obama, and just reading their stories about how they have overcome the challenges that they have and where they have gotten to. So that's more my preference.
Mm-hmm. Great. What's your idea of perfect happiness?
Blue water, white sand beaches.
All right. What is one mental health strategy for managing hard days?
Um, Deep breaths and remembering that tomorrow's a new day.
If you could have lunch with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
Um, this may sound silly, but I am a Swiftie and just went to the Taylor Swift concert. And I was so amazed at her stamina and her energy and her passion for what she does. I'd love to sit down with her.
I saw a great documentary about her on Netflix. Did you see it?
I have not seen the documentary, no.
It's really good. Okay. Lastly, if you had to describe your outlook in one quick motto, what would it be?
Tomorrow will be even better than today.
Love that. Well, this has been really fun getting to know you, and I hope you'll come back and talk more about travel and bleisure next year on the Modern Customer Noha. And thanks again for joining me today.
I would be happy to. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, you've been listening to the Modern Customer Podcast. Don't forget to check out your local choice hotels for your next vacation, and thank you for tuning in.